like if you had a second chance? Are you willing to take a gamble, open your heart, and change your thoughts and perspective for a new chance at life? Welcome to the Wisdom Café. I'm your host, Arthur Tassinello, a relationship and leadership coach and mentor. Join me each week for insights into how you can have more love, happiness, peace, and abundance in your life without giving up who you are. Know that you are powerful and you are the governor of your life. So listen, learn, and leap into a better future. Hi, and welcome to another week of Wisdom Cafe. I hope you're enjoying some of the things that I talk about. Maybe they're helping you in your life. You know, as I start in the beginning, it's always about having a second chance. So what is really a second chance? And I think most of us want another chance, but we don't often look at it as a second chance for anything. My second chance, if you don't know my story, while I've had several in different areas of my life, my second chance was really about having another child. When I was very, very young, I had a son, and him growing up with me wasn't always a great situation, because after he was 4 years old, it was like an absentee dad, because his mom and I got separated and then we got divorced. And it was very unfortunate for him and for me, but even more so for him as a young boy, to have a dad that didn't always show up on the weekends like he was supposed to, becoming very, very selfish and so forth. I had moved, and when he was 14, I had moved 3,000 miles from him. And while I thought him being a boy at 14 years old, everything would be okay, you know, he's a boy. Now, it's not like a girl. We look at girls and boys a little bit differently. But as it happens, I moved, and some 6 years later after I moved, I had this vision of why things didn't go well, and why my son probably was hurt more than I thought. And so I asked God at that point in time. I said, you know, I haven't been the best dad. I wasn't mean to him, but not being around all the time doesn't make for a great relationship. And because of that, I asked, I said, if I had another chance at having a child, I know it would be different. Now, at this point in time, I'm not married, and I'm not thinking about having any more children, because I'm already in my 40s. And as God, in his infinite wisdom, did, he goes, Arthur, look at this. You're going to meet someone. I did 2 years later. 12 months later, she was pregnant and we had a daughter. And so that was a blessing in my life. A blessing because it allowed me to have that second chance that I was looking for. And for 31 years now, I think I've been a pretty good dad, of being around for everything in her life. So yes, second chances can happen. Maybe you've had second chances in your life and you didn't even realize that you had a second chance, that you could do something different. And oftentimes I would say better. Second chances don't come very often, but you have a choice. As in everything that you do in life, you do have a choice. And what would you choose? See, change is happening all the time. Change is happening in your life every minute of every day. It's either happening with your permission or without your permission. So it suggests, as Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the change you wish to see in your life. In my book, Your Key to Love and Happiness, there's a lot of ways to change. And it kind of goes with my second book, 21 Days to Love. But this is actually a workbook for you. And it asks a lot of deep questions about your life. What's your life like? But here's the changes that I'm talking about. You can change every action and every virtue in your life if you choose to. You can change how you act. You can change how you do things as far as forgiving others or not forgiving others for what you do. The change letting go of things. Change how you tolerate things in your life. Change by knowing that gratitude is a deep motivator for you, in the sense that whatever you have in your life is a gift. We all want more, but how often do you want to keep up with the Joneses? Does it make sense? Think about all the stress that you're creating in your life by wanting more of anything. More this, more that, more whatever that could be. The bigger house, the bigger car. You want to make sure that your kids maybe go to college. Perhaps, instead of making sure that they go to college, perhaps talking to your children and asking them what they want in their life. Granted, when they're young, they don't often know that, but perhaps giving them the option is the key. Perhaps it's time to change in how you respect others, and maybe how you respect yourself. Respecting yourself, whether you want to be healthier, mentally or physically. Allowing others to do things differently than you do them. Empowering yourself. And one of the things above all is having integrity. I'm going to tell you this little story. So, God one day created a dog. And he said to the dog, "Dog, your job is to sit by the door and bark at anyone coming in. And for that, I'm going to give you 20 years of life." Well, the dog turned to God and said, "Well, God, how about you only give me 10 and I'll give you back 10 years, because that's a really tough job." God says, "Okay, dog, 10 years. Then he creates a monkey. And he says to the monkey, "Monkey, your job is to entertain people and make them happy. And for that, I'm going to give you 20 years. And the monkey says, "Wow, that's a lot to do. You can imagine I have to make people happy for 20 years. How about if I do it for 10, just like the dog, and I give you back 10 years? God says, "No problem." So then God creates a cow. And he says to the cow, "Cow, your job for the next 60 years is to plow the fields, make calves, give milk to the farmer, and help him in many ways." And the cow says, 60 years laboring under the sun like that? How about 20, I give you back 40? God says, "Okay, no problem. 20 years for you." Then he goes to man and he says, "Man, I'm going to give you 20 years where you can eat and sleep and be happy and have fun in your life and get married." Well, man says, 20 years? That's not enough for that. How about if I take the 40 years of the cow and the 10 years from the dog and the 10 years from the monkey? And God says, "Oh, okay. So for you, I will give you all those years." So man now, in his first 20 years, gets to eat and sleep and have fun and do all those things. And then in the next, and I'm forgetting the last line, so I'm hoping I got it here for you. So he says, then he goes to the, he says, so now for the next 10 years, 20 years, he gets to be a dad and have all the toil and so forth of a job. But then for the next 10 years after that, he gets to to make his grandkids happy, just like the monkey. And the next 10 years after that, he gets to bark at everybody that's coming by his house, just like the dog. So I hope you enjoyed that, even though I may have messed it up a little bit because I couldn't remember the last part. But that, what you wish for, right? Right, be careful for what you wish for. Thank you very much. So there's a lot of things in life that we do and we express that we want to do, but how do we do that? How do we really express ourselves in a way to be happy within ourselves and yet to make other people happy as well? You can be the monkey once in a while. I would say be the dog, but be a friend like a dog and not be barking at people. And be like the cow to help other people and support them in many ways. So there are a lot of things that go on in our life. Today, one of the guests I have is Lola Angelini.
Yes, I'm here.
You are there. And Lola does a lot of beautiful artwork. In fact, she has some artwork here in the studio, which is really amazing. And she has some, if you go to her website, it's really, really incredible, some of the art and sculptures that she creates. So, Lola, tell us a little bit about you. And first of all, how does that make you happy, what you do, and how do you think it helps other people be happy?
Well, art for me is a therapy. I've tried over a dozen different professions, industries. I've been up, I've been down. I've tasted success, I've tasted money, I've tasted fame, and nothing external satisfied me. The only thing that satisfies me is creation of my art, and I've been on this spiritual journey since, I don't know, since I left my country, maybe even before. And yeah, of course, this is a interpretation of my spiritual growth, and every painting has a is a portal into the state of mind, into where I was at that moment. And I think it brings the viewer to within. So I think this world kind of so focused on external and is so fast that people go through life 80 plus years and they don't know who they are. And majority of time, if you ask somebody right now, okay, who are you? They're gonna call you, I'm so-and-so name, I'm doctor, I'm this, I'm that. And nobody ever even know, not even have an inquiry into really divine nature of who they are. That's what.
So Lola, you have, obviously you've done a lot of different things in your life. You've made a lot of changes in your life. And would you say you've had a second chance in so many ways at life? And what are the things that you really changed that made you happier?
I've changed countries. I've changed many states of mind, like who I was 10 years ago. I'm not thinking the same way. It's constant growth. It's like I'm not even the same since yesterday because so many things happen on the way, even what I've learned today. So it's constant evolution, and change is good. Change is transformation. It's always refreshing. People get so stuck into like comfort zone that I think being comforted, like there is a saying, nothing ever great was born out of the comfort. So the interpretation is right. More of change you have, more pain, more experiences, more every pain, every lesson is an evolution. It's a test. It's a beautiful growth. It just splashes your life with colors.
Again, thank you for that, because change is always happening, as we say. In your case, you made the changes yourself, and you didn't have change just happen to you. You've incorporated change into your life by changing where you lived, right? Now, you came from Russia, is that right?
Yes, yes.
Right. And how many years ago was that?
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
And so going from one country to another country, you had to figure out a new lifestyle, I would assume?
First, I moved to Finland. I spent half a year over there. Then I moved to New York, and then I moved to Florida. So I spent 16 years in Manhattan. That was a great, tremendous growth. And yeah, just by the age of 25, I've traveled 30 countries. That was, yeah, I was very curious, crazy, and it was beautiful. It's all about change. It's the power of curiosity.
So let's talk about a little bit more than just the lifestyle change that you had, or the life changes that you had from one career to another. How did that impact some of your relationships? What were your relationships like when you were younger compared to maybe a few years ago or even today? How have you seen a change in how you monitor or you go through having relationships with people?
In terms of relationships,
And it doesn't have to be significant other. I'm just talking in general, your relationships with maybe your parents or your significant other or your friends or other family members. Have you seen changes in that? What was it like for your family when you moved, and how did they feel about that?
well, they kind of always knew I'm a free spirit and unstoppable, and I'm so grateful for allowing me. You know, some parents are so like hold to their kids, so I didn't have that. They gave me total freedom, which in a way was a little bit maybe too much of freedom, but I took it all in like a sponge, and I use it at my advantage. And
So
I
guess
believe,
I guess the takeaway here is that, again, when we talk about change, I keep harping on this change because change is happening. Some of it that you've made the significant changes in yourself and what you're doing, and other people hopefully accepting that. We're going to stop for a minute and go to a commercial here and just take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if you had a second chance? Are you willing to take a gamble and change your thoughts and perspective? Welcome to the Wisdom Café. I'm your host, Arthur Tassinello, a relationship and leadership coach and mentor. Join me each Wednesday at 3 p.m. to explore what it is to be human and create that second chance.
You've been watching The Wisdom Cafe with Arthur Tassinello. For more information, please contact the studio at 888-994-4995 or send an email to arthur@arthurtassinello.com. And now, back to the show.
Hi, and welcome back. One quick question for Lola so that she gets her little spotlight here is that, can you tell everybody how to reach you and where they can see your art, Lola?
Lola Angelini art page, Facebook page. I have a YouTube channel, Lola Angelini Art and Design, and Facebook, Lola Angelini, and website, Lola-1111.
One of these days we'll shorten it up for you, Lola.
That square, that side. Anyway, just go to Lola Angelini Facebook, and there are links to
There
everything.
you go,
over
Lola
there, in the
Angelini
profile.
on Facebook. Look her up. Her
Yeah.
art is amazing. So is
Thank you.
her sculptures.
Thank you.
I love coming back to talking about change because everybody that comes here has some changes in their life, some major, some have had some really traumatic things happen to themselves. And I just want to spotlight how important it is for you to think about all the things that you do in your life. Before I introduce Karen Sierra Velez here, I want to get back to the book because a lot of us out there, a lot of you out there, are either maybe you're seeing a therapist or you're having some struggles with your relationships, whether it's with your kids or with your parents. You know, I'm talking to kids now too, not just parents and not just adults. I'm talking to everybody out there that's listening, because kids, you have an opportunity to make some changes in your life. I want you to think about this. I haven't always been 78 years old, okay? I started out just like you, out of the womb, and I've been through a million changes in my life, certainly from the ages up to 5. There's certain things that we do from 5 to, in grammar school, we acted another way, and we were learning and so forth. We're always learning something, aren't we? There's something that's coming into our lives, whether it's our teachers teaching us something, or the other kids in the class teaching us something, or that we're doing something that says, you have to do this, and this is the way you need to act. And that's, life will change, and I would say, you need to change as well. I don't really like to say you need to, but you do need to change. You have to look at things in a different way occasionally and to see what life is going to be like for you. How do you manage your life? Your parents, by the way, if I'm talking to some children that are listening out there, your parents were your age. They know exactly what's going on in your life, even though some of them will talk to you in a way that maybe you don't like. Maybe some are strict, maybe some are too lean. But you have to talk to them. You have to have a conversation. Parents, you have to have a conversation with your kids, right? It's not just telling them what to do, because your actions mean a lot. You can say things to them and you can want to impress them with things that you believe that they need to do because you didn't do it right when you were growing up. But it has to be a conversation. There has to be a kindness in it. So I keep talking about those things. Forgiveness is so important. Empathy is so important. Caring is so important. Compassion. All the virtues are important. I'm just going to get back to one thing. If you're going to therapy for some reason, I'm almost guarantee you that when you're talking to your therapist, you're not giving them all the information that you really want to, because you don't want to, maybe you don't want to reveal all of yourself. Maybe you do. Maybe you're that different person. But if you're worried about doing that, this is kind of a therapy in a book. It's not the end all. It's not perfect. There's nothing perfect in this world. This is not something to cure you, but it's something to help you find out, who are you? And why do you do the things that you do? So now I'll get back to, because we don't have a lot of time. The show is a lot shorter than I ever think about. And right now, Karen Sierra Velez, you have the Latin Hustle show, don't you?
Yes.
And so talk about a little bit about your show and what you try to achieve on your show.
Well, actually, Arthur, we started Latin Hustle with Karen about a few months ago, and we came up with the idea to spotlight the businesses and amplify their business on TV and radio. So I just basically, asked them what services do they offer, how long they've been in business, and what motivated them to start. And we just, have our conversation from there. And it's very interesting, the people that, I've been able to meet doing this.
So now your life has been one of a little bit of turmoil, and you don't have to go into anything that you don't want to, because I know that you had a lot of struggles there. What are you doing now to get yourself through that and to be, the different Karen? How's that?
Well, I can definitely piggyback on what Lola said, that every day we learn, and who we were yesterday, we're not the same today. And Arthur, it's actually interesting that you asked me that, because I also met a woman this morning who's a natural healer, and was explaining to me that, when we've dealt with trauma in our past, a lot of times we haven't really healed completely from all of it. So our past behaviors may show up again. Maybe, a mistake I did in my 20s came back when I was 30, and I was like, why? Why did I make that mistake? I thought I learned the first time. And a lot of, one thing I learned today that I didn't know was that we have blocks sometimes from the trauma of the past. So it puts that barricade to help you grow. And you actually don't really change until you want to, until you learn to accept who you are, forgive your past mistakes, and become a better version of you every day. But
I love that story. And that is so true. And I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes we hear the adage, forgive and forget. And we'll never forget those things. Mm-hmm. So try to set aside what happened, in the sense of, I remember it, but I'm not going to allow it to run my life anymore. Mm-hmm. And somebody comes up to you and does something that was similar to that event, that's kind of a trigger or a button for all of us, right? and then we start to act not in such a good way because that triggered something. And folks, I'm always going to touch on this part, which is we have the opportunity to either act or react. And the reaction is the one that gets us in trouble because we're reacting to that trigger. Mm-hmm. And that trigger was not a good event for us. So to take a look at that trigger when that event happens again in the future and understand it, think about it, but come from a different place, come from a place of love, because really that's what we're all about. This is where we came from. This is where we were born into. We were born into love. And trying to remember that everything that we do needs to come from love. Mm-hmm. Love is, I say, needs to be our foundation. Everything, all the virtues grow from love. And that's compassion, and that's understanding, and that's forgiveness, that's empathy. Again, I keep harping on these things because I live this in my life now. It's taken me a long time to get here, decades and decades of working on myself to get through stuff. I still do silly things. I don't think I do stupid things anymore, but I still do silly things. And sometimes that past kind of rears its ugly little head, and I go, so Arthur, what are you going to do with that? And I have to assess it and make sure that my reaction is a positive reaction and not something that's going to hurt someone else. So wake up every morning, right? Wake up every morning, be in gratitude for what you have. I mean, there were times in my life that I can tell you that I had the big house and I had the cars and so forth. And I can also tell you the times in my life when I was sleeping on somebody else's couch, and that wasn't when I was young. And so that was hard. I can tell you that now in my life, whatever I have in my life, whether it's $1 or $1 million, and I don't have $1 million, but anyway, if I had that, I'm in gratitude for having a home and having some money in my pocket and be able to eat and be able to see my kids and just be in community with everyone. Love, it's the most important thing in life.
Amen.
The most important thing. Go hug somebody. I'm going to hug Karen and Lola and Dawn and Freddie in a little bit, because those are the important things. To love more, to hug more, to give somebody a smile. I guarantee you out there right now, if you're feeling not so good, maybe a little sad, if you force a smile, see, this happens to me every time I do this. If you force a smile, it actually makes me laugh, and it'll lift you up, whether you want to be uplifted or not. So, any more words of wisdom from you, Karen?
Well, I was going to say the beauty of change is that it starts within yourself. So when you start learning your talents, your skills, the positive attributes that you have to offer, you change from negativity to a positivity. And then you realize, okay, what do I have to remove out of my life? Like you asked Lola, I feel like with our inner growth, we also learn to get rid of the red flags that before we used to fall into a relationship or a friendship, and the red flags were there, but we just thought they were amazing. Like it didn't
Karen,
matter.
Before we wrap up here,
Yes.
tell people, when is your show on and how can they see it?
Sure. So we're actually getting ready to launch my new show, which is going to be called Latinos Unidos, and that's Latins United. So we're going to network more with Latin businesses and within the community to spotlight their businesses.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
All right, to wrap
thank
up
you.
today, folks, I want to thank you for being here with me. I hope the information that I impart, the things that I do, impact your life in a very positive way. And all I can say is, please love more and be the change you wish to see in the world. Be that positive change you wish to see in the world. It's always up to you. It's always up to me. No one else. You can't rely on somebody else to do the good things in life. You can't rely on somebody else to be the positive person. But if we all look at ourselves, deep inside ourselves, and we say, I'm going to be a very positive person today, you can do that. You can wake up in the morning, you can wake up with a smile no matter what's going on in your life, and make it a different day. So make it a great day. And I want to just say, as always, blessings and love to everyone. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next Wednesday in the next Wisdom Cafe show. Thank you so much for being here. Watching the Wisdom Cafe. Join me each Wednesday at 3 p.m. to explore what it is to be human and create that second chance as I examine ways about how you can have more peace, love, and happiness in your life. Until next week, remember this. When you change what you do and the way you look at things, the things you